Hey everyone, welcome to Logan's Smosh Pit. Glad to have you here. Do me a favor and please subscribe if you haven't already. Yes indeed, time for another rock and read. Today we'll read chapter 27 and chapter 28 of Iron Man, written by the riffmaster from Black Sabbath, Tony Iommi. Sorry if my voice sounds off. I've been dealing with a bad cough for almost a week. Let's find out what happens next. In England, it was all hash and dope and pills, but when we headlined the Los Angeles Forum in the autumn of 1971, I was introduced to coke. I said to one of our roadies, "I feel really tired." He said, "Why don't you have a little line of coke?" "No, I don't want to do any of that." He was American, so he was familiar with it. He said, "You'll be fine. Just have a little toot before you go on." I had a toot, and I thought, this is wonderful. Let's get on stage and play. And that was it. Bloody hell. I felt great on stage. And of course, the next time, I had a little bit of that stuff before going on again. And then I started doing it more and more, as you do. To do something special around that gig, we also performed at the Whiskey A Go-Go on Sunset Strip. Patrick Meehan said, "Why don't we wear something different? White suits and top hats and canes." We hired all these white suits, and they were absolutely covered in dirt after no time at all. Most people take these things back all nice on hangers, but the people at the rental place must have thought, "Who's had these?" The Beach Boys came to see us that night, and I didn't know what they looked like. I was coming out of the dressing room, and somebody walked up to me and said, "Can I come in and see the rest of the guys?" No, there's nobody allowed in the dressing room. It was a little bit embarrassing afterwards when I found out that he was a Beach Boy. L.A. and movie stars and sunshine. It made quite an impression on us. We ended up at these well-to-do parties where we saw lots of movie stars like Tony Curtis and Olivia Newton-John. We'd be out anyway, as a lot of them were as well, floating around there. I think it was at the end of that third tour of America that we played the Hollywood Bowl for the first time. My memory is not crystal clear about that show because I collapsed at the end of it. I passed out because of exhaustion. I just remember going to the last song and then boing, and gone. The doctor who examined me said, "You've got to go on the next plane back to England. Go straight home and just take it easy." I was about to have a nervous breakdown, so they prescribed Valium in high doses. I was a zombie all day. I really had to just rest. It had been too much with the lifestyle we were living. All the touring and not getting a lot of sleep, I suppose. Bill was diagnosed with hepatitis and ended up in the hospital. He carried this rusty knife with him all the time, and he opened some clams with it and cut his hand. He claims he got it either from his knife or from a shell. Being a vegan, Geezer couldn't get half of the food that he wanted, so that made him awfully thin. He got these kidney stones and ended up in the hospital as well. We were all falling to bits. Ozzy probably had the most unhealthy lifestyle of all of us, but he was the only one who was still standing. We were all out for the count, but Ozzy, he was as right as rain. Well, that wraps up chapter 27, so why don't we move on to Chapter 28? We started off 1972 with a 19-day UK tour with Glenn Cornick's band, Wild Turkey. We had them supporting us because Patrick Meehan had teamed up with Brian Lane, and they managed the band. Lane was the manager of Yes, which was why we had them on the next tour with us. 32 shows throughout the States and Canada, starting in March, the Iron Man Tour. Us and Yes. It was an extremely unlikely combination. They hated us, because I'm sure in their minds they were the clever players, and we were the working class. Sometimes they talked, and other times they would walk straight past you. Very strange. Years later, we all got along fine, but it took a long time. And they were funny on stage. If anyone made a mistake, the daggers would be out. We thought, what's all that about? Music, somebody's made a mistake, so what? It's a good thing they weren't in our band. We would make mistakes every 2 minutes. Here we were, with them as supporting act, with all of their clever stuff coming out, and we're going boing, clunk, zzz. They must have gone, what the? What are we doing here? Their keyboard player Rick Wakeman didn't get on with them, so he traveled with us as much as he could. We liked Rick. I think he was interested in playing with us, but he would have been too good, too much for what we wanted. We only wanted something very basic that just went duh, duh, duh. It wasn't like Yes music. On our previous tour one night, Elvis was staying at the same hotel we were at. We would see him come in with all the security and go to the top floor. We were invited to go and see Elvis perform. I had a bird that night, so I said, I'm not going. I regretted that afterward, because I didn't see his show then, and I never would. On this tour, we flew from LA to Vegas and back in a plane that belonged to Elvis. Really strange. All leopard skin seats in there. Very flash. The stewardess on the plane came out with a plate of all different colored sandwiches. I went, blimey, what's this then? Well, it's colored bread. Ah. It must have been something that Elvis liked, but it was a nice plane. We used it, behaved ourselves, left it in one piece, as of course we were very respectful. I mean, it was Elvis. Well, that's the end of Chapter 28. Let me know what you thought of both chapters in the comments below. That does it for today's video, guys. I hope you enjoyed. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. I really appreciate the support. I'll see you next time. Till then, rock on. And Merry Christmas.